Ready? So we were talking about camp provisions. We already talked about Schuyler and Gansevoort riding back and forth. And again in July of 1776, about a month later, Schuyler writes Gansevoort again, ordering more provisions. There's 20 accounts in Johnson's work, and this comes from Kenneth D. Johnson's work. I apologize for not telling you the author, but it comes from Kenneth Johnson's work. He depicts 20 different times Gansevoort writes to Schuyler, suggesting that he send provisions and supplies to him from Fort George, which I find very almost unique given the size and the scope of Fort George. And logically speaking, I would almost want to suggest that Fort George was probably at one time bigger than what we see today and what's explained to us. Raymond Tucker's book depicts Fort George in a letter written by James Lockwood to Silence Dean at the fort in the fall of 1775, at the inception of the American Revolution. The American forces were commanded by Major General, at that point, some of them were commanded by Major General Richard Montgomery. Afterwards, Montgomery left the British cause. And on their way to Canada, Lockwood writes, I am not unacquainted on how apt soldiers are to report groundless, ill-natured stories about officers. Neither do I believe 1/5 part of the complaints against General Schuyler. Neither officer nor soldier of any army loved him. Basically, he was hated. Montgomery, who has been a darling in the army, they now complain about him very much. So they didn't like Arnold, they didn't like Montgomery, and well, maybe they knew that Montgomery also left his home country and was much like Arnold was, as betrayer to his country, and that's why they didn't like him. And even in Britain, Arnold was scorned for many years when he moved there, and Arnold stayed there and then eventually moved back to the United States. So I want to thank you for your time. I thank you for your putting up with our technical difficulties. We'll try to get those worked out eventually. Please subscribe and like my channel if you like what we're doing. And thanks to my darling wife for being the photographer today. Have a great day. Take care.